Where did you learn to fix cars, dude?
Well, I guess it probably all started when I was a kid. Always taking stuff apart, dirt bikes and four-wheelers and whatever it happened to be. I wasn't so good at putting them back together. Obviously, that's something that's improved over the years.
You probably got good at putting them back together, though, right?
Yeah, I figured it out. Obviously, that's something that I do now that I'm good at. So that was the initial thing. I think it's kind of just a lot of started out with a lot of natural ability and just kind of a curiosity.
Fine-tuning it?
Yeah, curiosity about things and how they worked. And I've always been able to see something and be able to see the exploded view of it in my head and see like how it's assembled and how it comes apart.
You're able to think three-dimensionally.
Yeah.
Fix stuff. Did your parents always think you were mechanical?
I'm sure they thought I was good at taking things apart.
Not putting it back
Yeah,
together?
that was always a sore spot when I was a kid. But
all right. Dudes, this is Nothing Fancy. I'm with a friend of mine. His name is Ryan Courtright. Welcome to a new series of videos in the Nothing Fancy project, something I've had planned for quite some time. It's going to be called something like Impressive Humans. That's a stupid name, isn't it? Impressive Humans. Ryan is an auto mechanic, has been my auto mechanic for I think around 5-6 years, somewhere around there. We're going to get to why Ryan is so impressive here in a minute. I want to kind of lay the foundation for his background and why you ended up where you are, and that is the owner and operator of your own business. Okay, so you were mechanical right off the bat, you fixed stuff, you broke stuff, and when I ran into you and you and I hooked up, you had just come from a dealer.
Yeah, a Honda dealership. I had worked there about 5 years. Didn't like necessarily a few things about the dealership experience.
What did you not like?
One thing I didn't like as an employee was I always felt like you were just a butt in a seat and just another number, and if you didn't like something, their answer was, "There's a door. You're welcome to walk through it. There's plenty of other people out there to replace you." And so I didn't like that about it. And then there were some
honesty issues?
Yeah, some integrity issues that I felt like I was being asked to compromise my integrity at times, and I didn't feel comfortable doing that. And I didn't really want to participate in an organization that encouraged that.
Give us something concrete. And you told me off camera a good story. And by the way, Ryan is completely real. There's nothing you're going to hear from Ryan that's made up. He just is what he is. He doesn't know anything about TMP, by the way, other than what I've told him.
I've never seen the show.
Never. But don't think any of this is contrived. Tell him that one thing. So lady brings her car in.
For example, one that stands out in my mind was one that I actually got in trouble for when I was working at the dealership. And I think that's probably why I remember it. Somebody came in to get some service done on their vehicle, which I performed. That vehicle also had like a multi-point inspection on it. Basically looked the car over.
It was a Honda?
It was a Ford.
Okay, but they're bringing it into your dealership.
A Honda dealership, yeah.
Okay.
It was a Ford car, so not necessarily our specialty, but certainly we're happy to work on whatever.
Right.
I did the service that was requested on the car, inspected it, looked it over. The car was in good shape. And I didn't make any additional service recommendations. I just did the work and I sent it out the door. Later that day, I got called into the service manager's office and basically chewed out. And the first question he asked me was, "Are you making too much money?"
Seriously,
said,
he says this.
"I don't think I'm making too much money." "Well, you must not be very hungry because you didn't make any recommendations at all on that last car. And you're telling me that car with 60,000 miles on it didn't need any work at all?" And I said, "No, nothing I could see. If there was some work there, I would have recommended it, but I'm not going to, recommend work that I can't find." And he said, "Well, I think maybe we need to dock your pay because obviously you're making too much money, or you would have found something on that car to recommend." And I said, "Look, if the work's not there, if the car doesn't need the service, I'm not going to recommend it. Bottom line, you can chew me out all day long; it's not going to make a difference." And the conversation was left at that. But I had that experience several times, and I'm sure that other technicians had a similar experience where you're basically pressured into any additional sell. And
didn't you say he kind of likened it to fast food? How you go through the drive-through, they're gonna like push on you about 4 other food items on you.
Yeah, and
trying to really make some sales off you.
The dealership mentality that I experienced was similar to the mentality, the experience in any other business. You don't stop selling to your customer until they stop buying. For example,
until they say enough already.
Yeah, enough already. For example, when I go out to dinner with my wife, they always, I take my wife out to dinner, we have a nice meal, we're sitting there stuffed, and they're always, hey, is there anything else we can get you? Would you like to have a dessert? And, our answer is usually inevitably,
yes,
no
absolutely.
Way, we're stuffed.
Oh, wait, you say no?
We're not big on dessert at restaurants. But they're always going to ask that, and they're going to give you the opportunity to spend more money. Well, the dealership mentality is a lot the same way. We're going to continue to give you the opportunity for more until you decide that you've had enough or you're tapped out. Whether your car actually needs it or not, or whether it's in your best interest or not,
they're just trying to max out their profit on you.
It's in the best interest of the dealership's bottom line.
Keep your thought, but recently I personally had an experience like this because I brought my Mazda with a malfunctioning EGR valve to a local Mazda dealership. They tell me that I need basically a $750 repair job on the EGR valve. Okay, that's what they told me. Then I brought it to Ryan. He looked at it. He repaired it for, I think, $95.
Sounds about right.
With a caveat, he said, hey man, I'm going to try to repair this EGR. It looks like it's sticking. And by the way, remind him what an EGR valve is. Just real simple and quick.
So as I recall, your car was setting a trouble code that was causing your check engine light to come on.
Right.
The code had to do with the EGR system, which is an emissions control system. It recirculates exhaust gas.
Okay.
That system wasn't flowing properly. And so what we found was that the valve that controls the flow in that system was stuck shut. New one of those valves is pretty pricey. We were able to just basically recondition the valve that was in there, clean it up, free it up, get it to operate properly, which resolved your problem.
Saved me over $600.
Yeah.
And so far so good. It's been running great. Now, this is interesting because it plays into exactly what you're talking about, and that is the honesty issue, the integrity issue, and that's why you're in front of my camera right now. Not to promote your business, but to promote the qualities that you exhibit in your business.
Right.
When there's plenty of pressure upon you personally to perhaps compromise those, but you don't.
I actually had an interesting experience. I've got a technician that I recently hired. He's been working for me for maybe about 6 months.
Okay.
And the other day, he's like, hey, I want you to come take a look at this. And, there was some repair or oil leak or something that he wanted me to take a look at in the car. And he showed it to me, and he just looked at me, and he said, you're so weird. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I don't understand, any other, as far as a business owner, he says, you just don't make sense. He said, anybody else that I've ever worked for, if something was even slightly, this gasket's got a slight leak, it needs to be replaced. But you, on the other hand, you're like, it's not that bad. They could let it ride for a little while. And I just don't get it, man. He says, what's the deal? And I said, well, honestly, I'm not motivated by money.
Interesting.
We've
talked about that on other philosophy videos.
Yeah, to make money off of somebody to do a repair is, unless it's going to solve a problem for them, I don't want to do it. I'm not here just to make money and, do useless repairs on your car. I want to have a repair that makes a difference that you're happy with. And if something is minor and, could slide, I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to say, hey, you've got this leak or whatever. You could address it, but it's not going to cause
Does
you
it
much of a
make
problem.
you feel good when they go out the door and you know that they got a good value for their money?
Yeah.
You're helping these people.
Yeah.
And I've been here a lot in your office off and on over the years. And I see a lot of females come in, ladies, and maybe some of them don't know so much about mechanics, but I see you give them the same level of service that you give everybody.
Yeah, and I feel like it's our responsibility to educate our customers. Not everybody's cars are complicated. I mean, not women or people always put the stereotype about.
Yeah, there's plenty of dudes that don't know things about
guys
cars.
don't know anything about cars either. It's a lot easier.
Let's be fair to both sexes. We'll slam them equally.
I think it would be a lot easier, and it's funny that people have this conception that a woman's going to come in and be misled and be told whatever. The reality is, it would be 10 times easier to fool a guy.
Really?
You could have a guy come in, and you could just, say, hey, your car needs this, some Latin word, Greek, this and that and the other, and they're not going to know what you're talking about, but they're not going to say, hey, I don't know.
Because their ego won't let them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Interesting.
But okay. And so, yeah, because of the male ego or whatever it is, I think it would be easier to take advantage of a male customer than it would be a female. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. We're not going to take advantage of anybody if we can help it.
When did you decide to leave the dealership? And was that a huge decision for you? And talk about that decision.
So when I was...
Involve your family too. He has a wife. How many kids do you have?
3 boys.
Okay.
3 kids.
Young family.
Young family. At the time when I was working at the dealership...
Where did Macy go? Oh, here she is. I got to hang on a second. This is his dog. How awesome is this? This is Macy. She's a sport Jack Russell.
Yeah, Parsons Jack Russell.
Parsons Jack Russell. She and Allie get along good, although she's kind of territorial here at first with Allie. Allie's over here, by the way. Check it. They get along well. Good girl. So that's his family. Back to your story. Go.
So,
leaving the dealership.
Leaving the dealership.
Involving the family. You go home and you say to your wife, hey, you know what? Dealership blows. We're going to have our own business. Is that how it went?
Well, more or less. So initially...
along the way, by the way, you became a Honda certified mechanic.
Right. Honda certified mechanic.
Is that a big deal to get?
For some people, it's pretty difficult. For me, it just kind of came with the being able to take
that. By the way, is why I brought my Honda to you, because I wanted that.
Yeah.
And then I saw that you were a small businessman, and that was double thumbs up to me.
Yeah.
I was like, awesome. Okay.
So when I left the dealership at that time, I was an assistant shop foreman there. So not only did I have to worry about myself, but I also had a team of 4 guys that I was responsible for. And then on certain days of the week when the shop foreman would be out of the shop, it would be my responsibility to oversee the work of about 20 technicians. It kind of just got to a point where the stress level wasn't worth the pay, for one, of having to be accountable and try to motivate many technicians that were quite a few years my senior at that time at the dealership. I was only 23 years old. So I was pretty young, and some people don't like to take direction from a younger person than
whippersnappers.
Yeah, you whippersnappers think they know it all. So that added an extreme element of stress to that job, which I didn't care for. That wasn't the main reason why I left, though. The main reason was I was going to school. I was working full time. I had quite a bit of side work. And so it just got to a point where I didn't have the time in my schedule to spend any time with my family. I had a young baby at the time, and I was married, and basically just felt like I never saw my family. And so I thought, hey, I got this great idea. This will be a 5-year plan. I made good money on the side last year. I'm going to just focus on my sideline and make it my main line. So,
and you're talking about just independent mechanic work.
Yeah, independent mechanic work. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get a shop, and I'll figure I can work probably half.
This is his shop, by the way. We'll show you more details here in a minute.
Half days and have, plenty of time to go to school full time.
How's that plan working for you?
Well, they say when you're self-employed, you get to work half days, and that has been nice, but the advantage isn't that you get to work half days. I've learned the advantage is you get to choose which 12 hours of the day you work.
Did you notice he said 12 hours?
It's a half a day. We can work half days, 12 hours.
So you left the dealership.
I left the dealership with the idea that I would work half days, self-employed, and go to school full-time. I'd do it for 5 years, and the plan was to finish my mechanical engineering degree and get a quote-unquote real job.
Were you scared when you made that leap?
No, I think that ignorance is bliss. There's plenty of things that...
Was your wife scared?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think she thought it was a good thing. And
100% supportive when you did that. You bailed on your dealership job.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I think it comes because her father is also self-employed and owns his own business, and so she's got a little bit of that entrepreneurial sense about her.
Cool. So she's kind of seen it work before.
Mm-hmm. So that was the goal. I was thinking, this is a 5-year plan. I'm going to go to school for 5 years and get my degree, and then I'll go
get the real job.
Get a real job, yeah.
How long ago was that? About 7 years ago?
7 years now.
That's pretty much when I came to know you, because you had, at the time, a little, what would you call it? Like a little
strip mall shop.
Strip mall place. It was just like a couple garages that he worked at.
Shop.
And I gotta tell you, dude, when you upgraded to this big facility, I was bummed.
Yeah.
I told you that at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. The reason I was bummed, guys, and you got to understand this, is because Ryan is a gifted mechanic. And then I knew by him enlarging and getting all these bays, he's going to get additional employees, and with those additional employees comes additional problems.
More money, more problems.
Is that right?
That is right.
Is that what keeps you up at night? Employee problems. Talk about that. Because there's some small businessmen that are going to watch this video. They might be able to learn a thing or two from you.
Currently, honestly, I sleep like a baby for a couple of reasons. One,
drugs.
I work hard. 2, I'm honest. And 3, I got a great crew working for me.
Did you catch number 2? That's what this whole video is about, by the way.
I sleep good at night. And there has been times when I have had employees that have kept me up at night. And I've learned over the years that a good employee is one that is like a good tool in your toolbox. They're there for you when you need them. They're handy. You can have them, you think about, hey, I'm going to use that tool between 8 to 6, but you don't take it home with you. At 6 o'clock, that tool stays in the toolbox, and that employees and the thoughts that surround them stay in the employment.
So when you're at home, you're with the family. You're not weighted down by all these business ideas.
I've found in my management experience that an employee that you think about after hours is not going to last. I've started to learn that usually when you start thinking about an employee and you're not at work, it's because that employee's causing your problems, and you're sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? What do I need to do? How am I going to handle this? Do I need to take action? Do I need to let somebody go? And I've learned that once you start having those thoughts, they don't go away, and that
it's eventually going to catch up to
Yeah,
them.
It's better just to let that person go.
What kind of issues you talking about, though? Are you talking about honesty issues? Have you seen that with your employees, where they're stealing from you, or they're well, I'll speak from experience as your customer.
Mm-hmm.
I have had one of your mechanics screw me over.
Yeah.
It wasn't your fault. You and I dealt with it, and this is another reason that I respect Ryan, because he did deal with it directly. Yeah. I brought my Toyota truck in. Long story short, I want to bore everybody with the details, but it was looked at twice by that mechanic, signed off. He says it's good to go. It basically broke down on the interstate for me. I called you, somewhat upset, and I was like, hey, this thing's not running. And I think the end result is he misdiagnosed it. It was the timing chain had grooved the water pump or something.
Yeah, I had grooved the timing cover.
So we had oil and water mixing together, and Ryan paid for the tow truck, got the truck, fixed it himself. At that point, I got on the phone with Ryan. It's like, Ryan, I love you, buddy, but I don't want that guy to ever touch my vehicle again. Yeah. And he didn't. And that guy, I don't know from that experience or not, didn't last. He got fired.
He was dismissed.
He's bye-bye. He
is bye-bye. And, problem employees, as far as problems that I've had with employees, I haven't really had any honesty issues. I did have one employee that had some honesty issues. He didn't last, I don't tolerate.
How about work ethic issues? They don't know how to work hard.
Somebody that doesn't work hard usually doesn't last very long either.
Go reference my video on work ethic, by the way. Workers are few.
Mostly I have problems with employees basically losing their drive to want to work and or doing subpar work. And, I demand excellence, and if you're not ready to deliver that, then this isn't the place for you to be employed.
Do you think, from what you know about people here in the industry and by the way, Ryan's in Utah, Salt Lake City, specifically South Salt Lake. There's his business card. Again, this is about the man, but as an offshoot, these two things are kind of tied together. Do you know other people in the industry where those people would fit in just great?
Oh, yeah. I think many places, if you can turn a wrench and you got a pulse, you could meet the job qualifications. Obviously, we require...
By the way, Ryan's closed right now. We had to actually wait till the shop closed. There were so many people here earlier, it just wasn't doable. So
we were getting blasted. As usual.
So those people would fit in fine over there.
Oh, yeah. And as a matter of fact, that employee that we were talking about went...
service manager at Honda.
No, he's not a service manager, but he's a lead technician at an Acura dealership now.
Wow.
Which always made, and I've asked, other people that work at that, how's that guy worked out? Because he served,
Did you get any phone calls, resume type to say, hey, how'd this guy do?
No. He knew that I was a bad reference, I'm sure.
I would have given him a reference.
I'm sure you would.
He was a nice enough guy. He just wasn't skilled as a mechanic.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and that was another thing when I worked at the dealerships. It always surprised me. Like, they would bring these kids in, and I always thought, hey, when you take your car to the dealership, you're getting the best. You know,
that's what I think most people think. I thought that at one time.
The most qualified individual. You're going to have the best experience. And when I worked at the dealership, I was surprised at the level of employee or technician that they were bringing in. The low level. I mean, some of these kids were just barely out of high school, and they're being thrown right on the line, and here you go ahead and fix this customer's car. And I thought, wow, that's what these people are paying $100 an hour for, is to have some kid making minimum wage work on their car that doesn't even know what he's doing. Especially when I got into being an assistant shop foreman and having the responsibility of overseeing those unskilled individuals, it becomes very frustrating, because you got people that are upsetting customers because they're messing stuff up, and now you're getting the earload, because
but
it's your responsibility
you're really not in control of the situation.
No, yeah,
you can't make the calls. You can't hire and fire or do all that.
Welcome to middle management.
Yeah. Now you're top management, though.
Yeah.
This right here is the heartbeat of American business, in my opinion. This is a small business owner. He established his own business. He hires, how many people you employ right now?
Still pretty small right now. We got 5 employees.
Okay. Small business, man.
Small business.
So making it happen. He's on a busy corner here in Salt Lake City. Were you scared when you moved into this bigger facility?
Oh, yeah. Especially when I wasn't able to secure a business loan. The economy faltered right about the time that we made this expansion, which in hindsight's been really good for us, and we survived the move, but it was definitely
And you survived the huge economic downturn. When was that, about 08? 09?
Yeah.
Early 09?
And to be honest, every year since the economy went down, our business has doubled.
Do you find more people repairing their cars instead of buying new ones?
I find more people repairing their cars, and I think people are a lot more sensitive about how they separate with their dollars. They want to make sure that they're not getting ripped off. They want to make sure that they're getting the best possible deal that they can, and that leads to people shopping around. And I think that is where having a good reputation and presenting good value to your customers really makes a difference in your business traffic.
Do you have difficult customers?
Oh yeah, everybody has.
I'm saying that facetiously. I know you do.
Everybody has their difficult customers. For the most part, honestly, I don't have any problems with anybody. I mean, there are some people that are just, you're not going to satisfy them no matter what. Nobody can.
They want it free. Whoever.
And they want it fixed yesterday.
Yeah. Right.
And some people are just unreasonable, but usually I'm able to help those people to see the light and to see reality was really what it comes down to, and recognize that there's cost associated with repairing your vehicle, and you can't expect to go into the grocery store and walk out with a handful of groceries without paying for it. Just like getting your car fixed, you can't expect to get a bunch of repairs done and get your problem solved without having to have some sort of bill at the end of it. So,
would you say that your own sense of honesty and integrity is your guiding force for the business? And part two of that question is, does it lose you money or make you more money adhering to that?
I think in some situations it probably does lose me money, but I don't care about that, because
I have opinions on it too, but I'm curious.
I'm not totally motivated by money. I don't come to work to make. I mean, yeah.
What are you motivated by, though? Is it about the job well done and knowing that they're going out the door and you have helped people?
Yeah.
When it gets right down to it, you've helped people. Is that motivating to you?
That is hugely motivating me to have helped people, and more than to help them, to help people solve their problems. And I really like to see, especially I'll give an example. Somebody brings their car in, they've had it at Shop X, and Shop X has said, hey, you need this, this, and this, and it's going to be $1,000. I love it when somebody brings their car in for a second opinion, and we look it over and say, well, you do need this and this, but this is fine. You don't need to replace
the
this
bill's
at all.
$375.
Yeah, instead of $1,000, really you only need to spend $150, and you could probably let that slide for a little while to see that burden lifted off that person, and to see that they
preach it.
That they didn't get taken. I love that. That's for me.
So that's what your motivation is.
Yeah, I love being able to help people, and then also be able to provide them a value in their service.
Having been on the other end of that equation with big mechanical problems, and you have helped me out, it does do that. It's like a huge burden lifted off that person's shoulder. They can worry about other problems in their life.
Yeah.
It does work out that way.
Yeah. And so back to your question about honesty and integrity, Does it cost me money sometimes? Yeah, it probably does, but I have a philosophy about it, and I call it tomorrow dollars over today dollars. My thinking is that I'd much rather invest in a relationship with a customer and be their mechanic and service their car for a lifetime rather than make a big one-time purchase off of them by taking advantage of them and have them never come back again. I'd much rather take good care of them and have them come back for years and tell their friends and their family about the quality service that they received, because I think that repeat business and that mode of thinking, one, it's just naturally the way I am, because I don't want to rip somebody off.
Yeah. It's your personal mores. It's just how you're put together.
Yeah.
And you actually said it off camera. You said a business is a reflection of its owner.
Yeah. I think any
You've
small
seen
business.
that in other businesses you were saying off camera. I found that interesting. That you can go in, you know the person, and then you see the way he's operating his business, how his employees are, and you're like, yep, he's really cheap. Or he's really sloppy. He's a bad record keeper, and you can see that personality in the business.
Can.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, you can. I think it comes as from being a business owner. You see yourself and your own flaws in your business. Whether it's lack of organization.
Wait, your business here is perfect, dude. Right?
Oh yeah, it's not. No business is perfect. It's, I think, a perfect example of an adolescent business. Businesses go through stages. You've got an infancy business where you've got a one-man band or something. You've got an adolescent business, let's say, where you've got employees, but you're still, as the owner, an integral part of that. Someday I hope to have a mature business where a mature business basically can manage and maintain itself. It doesn't need outside input of the owner to keep it going.
Babysit it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to find someone like you with that same vision you have sitting on that end of the counter running the show.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
We had that conversation.
And
that's the difficulty of it.
That is the difficulty of finding somebody that
believes what you believe. Really believes it.
Yeah, the same motivations that you have it can be very difficult. And I have done that in the past.
And then keeping that person, because those people are talented and in demand by everybody.
And I have replaced myself in the past, or thought I had, and been burned. And so for me,
that dude did not work out. We won't mention names.
Yeah, it's especially difficult to, I call it, turn the reins over. It's difficult for me to relinquish control of something, because that the potential for catastrophe or upset is there.
Ruining your reputation. Do you think that happened when that dude was running the counter?
I'm sure it didn't help. A bit.
As one of your customers, I can tell you it didn't help.
So you have to be leery of that.
Be real.
You have to be leery of that, and I am, especially now. And so it makes it even more difficult, to want to take that step. My wife put it really good to me one day. She says, well, don't you ever want to take a vacation? Don't you want to, take a week off? And I said, yeah, I do. Just not this year. Because this year I'm focusing on, building the business and taking good care of my customers. And I honestly don't feel like there's anybody else out there that can take care of my customers as well as I can.
There's one of your customers, I would agree.
Yeah.
I feel bad saying that as a friend, because I know it chains you to this desk for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
For you to make sure your ship is on course, sailing correctly. But I sincerely hope that you find that quality person. They're out there. They're very hard to find.
Yeah.
But they can do that, and that they can find the same level of satisfaction you have.
And the bottom line is, it's my name that's on the sign in front of the building. So when people come in, nobody's going to be me. When they go to XYZ Automotive, they want to talk to XYZ, or Courtright Automotive, they want to talk to Mr. Courtright. And nobody's going to be a replacement for the owner, no matter how good they are. So, I can understand that, but it just makes it difficult to want to replace myself.
That's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm just glad you're here right now. Where do you see your business in 5 years and in 10 years? And real quick.
I see it, continuing to grow in the way that it has. It's, as networking goes out, the growth becomes exponential, and I foresee it continuing to grow like it has. I'm sure that in 5 years I probably will have another service manager to fill in.
You may have another location.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind having another location
if you can find good people.
Although
you gotta find good people.
I'd have to split my time if I had multiple locations,
because you'd want to be a presence there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, if you look, Ryan, at, like, for instance, I don't know, Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And some people hate Walmart, they love Walmart. But one thing you can say about it is Sam Walton had a vision about low cost, and they have adhered to that. So I think you talk about how a business represents its, its founder, its owner.
Yeah.
If you could do that with yours and infuse that,
Ooh.
that honesty, the same level of integrity and honesty, and actually, to be honest, here we go, honest or fair. There's other automotive repair places, I think, to certain levels do that.
Oh yeah.
We're definitely not. I'm not saying that Courtright's the only one, but I love Courtright because it's such an American story. It's such an American business story.
And I think,
and you could fail any day.
Oh yeah, anytime. I'm
about
insured,
all
but
the
you never
time.
know. Anything could happen.
I'm kidding, guys. No, I'm not kidding about the failure part, but I'm kidding.
There's
that
a lot of
he's
risk.
on an upward vector. He has
we're
lots
doing
of customers.
We're doing good. I think that a big part of it is I am the owner of this business, and I have been here since day one, and it is important to me, and I do take it personal, and I do want you to be satisfied. And if you're not satisfied, I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy. I don't have job satisfaction. And so
That last part's interesting, that you don't have job satisfaction.
I'm not happy till you're happy.
Not a slogan, you mean it.
No, I mean it. And as an employee somewhere else, I could care less about you at 9 o'clock or 5 o'clock when the day's over.
Yeah.
You're just another credit card walking through the door. And if you're not happy, I don't care. As long as I get my paycheck, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just an employee. It's not my business.
Hold on, though. I don't know if I buy that, because when you were at the dealership, you
Well,
weren't
I was
that
at the
way.
dealership, I cared,
Personally, you were not that way ever.
When
Right?
you take an owner out of an equation, so let's say I went to some
Okay.
chain store. The owner's not in that store. Let's say I went to some I don't know, Jiffy Lube or whatever.
Kmart.
Yeah, anywhere. The owner doesn't. He's not there. He's not on site.
True.
He's got somebody else that he pays to care. And I don't care how much you get paid. You can't get paid enough to care
To the level
about
the owner
people to the level that an owner or somebody that takes it personally does. And I think that is where why that's the difference, between a small business like mine and big business or a chain or a corporation. You have employees running it.
I'm going to weigh in, though. I have
an
seen
owner.
businesses that have infused a culture that there are employees that do care to that level, but they're empowered.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That those employees are empowered. They feel like they're part of the organization. They have a say on the way that organization goes.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guiding principles that work, and honestly, it's those people, those good people we're talking about, the good workers.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some. I've
Yeah.
seen some in my job.
Yeah,
They're
definitely
good.
they're out there.
They're very rare, though.
I think in
And
this
it depends on what wage level you're talking to. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think in this industry it's pretty uncommon,
It's pretty rare.
unfortunately.
So your prices are the cheapest around, right?
No, I don't think so.
They're not?
Some things maybe, but not all across the board. No, that's for sure.
Define value in the mechanics world.
I think value in the auto repair is one, getting what you pay for, and two, getting your problems resolved.
So they're not repeat problems.
Yeah, and not paying for stuff that you don't need, because I think that's pretty common, unfortunately. So yeah, you might get a great deal on some work somewhere, but how much of it did you actually need? And how much of it?
I've been in this office, by the way, when you've been consulting people.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably heard you personally say 5 times over the years, "Hey, you really don't need that done." Those words come out of your
Yeah,
mouth.
I told people that. And I can tell you probably every day I tell somebody, if this was my car, I'd probably let this go. I probably wouldn't
Run it
address
till it
this.
blows. Well, my EGR valve's the perfect example.
Yeah.
And I don't think you treat me differently than anybody else. You just said, "Hey, try it. If it works, run it." You just save over $600. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to put a new valve in.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So value is not getting ripped off and not having to come back for the same problems.
Yeah.
So hold on, TMPers. Those are my audience members, by the way. You have no idea what TMP is, right? They need a better deal. So do this for them. Guys that watch this video, especially to this part, are you going to cut them a deal, like special pricing?
Oh yeah, we'll give them a deal.
Honestly, I think your prices are fair enough already.
Yeah, we try to raise fair and competitive as we can. Obviously, you got to be competitive to keep yourself going.
So if they mention the word nut and fancy, special nut and fancy pricing, correct?
Yeah, we'll hook them up.
All right. Cool. Well, I wish you the absolute best in
Thank you.
business. And more importantly, I hope you don't get swamped so I can get my freaking car in when I have to. That's what I'm afraid about this video. If you're in the Salt Lake area, I drive down to Ryan, a long ways, by the way, to get my car to Ryan. Because you relocated, and this one's blah, 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 farther drive. But totally worth it. And I hope you keep that, you can preserve that. You said the adolescent phase in your business. You will one day reach mature phase probably, but I hope nothing changes.
Yeah.
That I hope there's clones of you. We need to clone you.
Definitely. And until I feel like I have somebody, I don't think I'd be comfortable leaving the scene, you know what I mean? And that day will probably never come. And to be honest, I'm a pretty young man, so I'll probably be here for a long time. Awesome. I don't mind working. I like working. I don't want to stay
you're
home.
a hard worker. By the way, he has a sweet samurai rock crawling rig. Yeah, I'll roll in a picture of it. It's beat. So that's what Ryan does on weekends when he's able to break away. He goes down to southern Utah and goes rock crawling. Is that right?
I love playing in the dirt and the rocks, and love to get my family out and my boys, and boys and dirt just go together like I don't know what.
He's got
boys
a cool family. I've met him. This is Ryan Courtright, impressive human. It's a principle of honesty exemplified by a small businessman. This is Nut and Fancy signing off. See ya.
Peace.